Hello and welcome. You're watching Head to Head on uatv and I'm Oles Gerjuk. Ukraine is taking steps to tackle the risks of corruption and money laundering. As part of the effort, the country has set up special institutions such as the National Agency on Corruption Prevention and the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine. Their investigators are supervised by the Autonomous Anti-Corruption Prosecutors Office, but while progress has been made in some areas, the unreformed judiciary remains the greatest obstacle to ending corrupt officials' impunity. To discuss the issue, we are joined in the studio today by Anastasia Krasnosilska. She is Advocacy Manager at Anti-Corruption Action Center. Hello, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
So first of all, I want to know your opinion. What is lacking in Ukraine's effort to fight corruption?
Well, right now, what we are lacking is fair justice. We have independent institutions to investigate high-profile corruption. We have independent anti-corruption prosecution, but unfortunately, what we don't have is fair and effective consideration of these cases in the courts. To name just one example, right now, 35 of cases of grand corruption submitted by National Anti-Corruption Bureau are pending in courts. And this situation continues for years, and basically at least for 14 months, cases are not even scheduled for consideration.
Are not even scheduled?
Not even scheduled, which is absolutely not corresponding to how other criminal cases are treated in Ukrainian courts.
Well, so basically what you mean is that now we should really consider this bill on anti-corruption court creation, right?
Yes, this is a top priority. The bill is adopted in the first hearing, but unfortunately, as of now, the bill does not comply with international obligations of Ukraine. It does not comply with recommendations of the Venice Commission. It runs again Ukraine's obligations under memorandum with IMF. So what needs to be done before the bill is adopted is basically to consider recommendations of the Venice Commission and literally to provide for crucial role of international experts in selection of anti-corruption judges. This is the key issue on the agenda now.
So the key issue is selecting of the judges.
International participation in selection of judges. This is key.
What about other recommendations? We will discuss this key issue a bit later. What about other recommendations of Venice Commission which are skipped in this bill?
The bill does not match recommendations of the Venice Commission in terms of jurisdiction of anti-corruption court. The very idea of anti-corruption court implies that it should only deal with cases of high-profile corruption. However, according to presidential draft law, the court is also seen as dealing with cases of drug abuse or weapon trafficking, which basically creates opportunities to overload the court with cases not pertaining to high-profile corruption. And
so they will be pending as well.
With having, yes, again, no result on high-profile corruption cases.
Also, I would like to remind the World Bank also expressed their sharp criticism according this bill, because even the demands to become basically the judge of this anti-corruption court are impossible for a person, because the professional need to be very much experienced in Ukrainian judiciary system and also abroad to have experience working in some institutions abroad.
Exactly. Right now, qualification requirements or eligibility requirements for candidates to anti-corruption court are simply not realistic. What I mean, the bill requires each and every candidate, Ukrainian judge, attorney, or lawyer to also possess experience in law enforcement or working in judiciary abroad. We simply do not have enough candidates with such an experience to be able to even organize a competition, not even talking about launching the court.
Then who will apply to become a judge?
This is one of the strategies how to adopt the bill but not create the court, simply to impose eligibility requirements according to which setting up the court will become impossible.
But who will appoint the judge according to this bill? Ukraine or international experts?
In any case, the judges can only be appointed, the final decision can only be made by competent Ukrainian authorities. But the key issue right now is whether recommendations from international experts will be taken on board or not. According to presidential draft law, recommendations from international experts should only be considered advisory. And such a model simply does not work. We have seen almost the same with public advices in the process of selection of the new Supreme Court. The role of the public was advisory, but in the end, all 60% of these advices were neglected. Therefore, we claim that advisory role of international experts is not enough, and what should be done is providing a veto powers for international experts in such a way as experts should be given an opportunity to filter out candidates who do not match the criteria for judges in civilized countries with the rule of law.
How do Ukrainian authorities react towards this requirement to basically to give international experts the veto right?
Our authorities claim that this contradicts the principle of sovereignty of Ukraine, but of course it is not like this, because we are not seeing international experts as imposing final decision on Ukrainian authorities. Role of international experts would be that of the first filter of a independent body that will filter out bad candidates, so to say. After that, Ukrainian authorities, Judicial Council will have enough candidates, a pool of candidates from which to select anti-corruption judges on their own accord with discrete powers according to Ukrainian legislation. So such a model cannot be seen as contradicting the sovereignty of Ukraine.
Well, in the beginning of March, Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko stated that the parliament will adopt the final version of anti-corruption court law this spring. Do you believe that? And what about the next tranche of International Monetary Fund, which basically depends on this anti-corruption court bill?
There are good chances that the bill will be adopted before the end of spring, and this is what we must actually do if we want to receive next installment from International Monetary Fund. I will just remind that this installment is crucially important for Ukraine, because in the beginning of next year we will have to repay considerable part of our foreign debt, and without this tranche of IMF we will hardly be able to cope with that. Ukrainian authorities, of course, also understand that. So, yes, good chances are that the bill will be adopted by the end of spring.
How do you think, what will be the final version of this bill? Will our parliamentarians go along with the requirements and demands of Venice Commission and European experts?
I hope that they do not have any other choice, because IMF was very strict and clear, saying that they not only wait to see the bill adopted, but they also wait to see the requirements towards anti-corruption court being met. And one of these requirements is taking on board recommendations of the Venice Commission about crucial role of international experts in selection of anti-corruption judges.
Okay. Well, in many parts of the, I just have an example. In many parts of the U.S., state judges are elected by a public ballot. How do you like this scheme to be implemented in Ukraine?
We have tried this approach partially with selection of the Supreme Court judges. We have had a public council of public experts who also gave advisory opinions about judicial candidates. In the end, these opinions were in 60% overruled by Qualification Commission of Judges, judicial body that selects judges. From this, we basically make an example that in order to have a non-political voice being strong in selection of anti-corruption judges, we need veto powers for international experts.
And except of this new bill on anti-corruption court, do we have any other initiatives to change legislation to improve our fight with corruption, so to say?
Unfortunately, we do not have legislative initiatives that improve our fight with corruption. However, we have the contrary. We have legislative initiatives that endanger new anti-corruption institutional framework.
For example,
I'm talking about this freshly registered bill on National Bureau of Financial Investigations. This is seen as a body to substitute fiscal police. And actually, creation of this body is an obligation of Ukraine before International Monetary Fund. But unfortunately, in the bill registered by the Member of Parliament from Poroshenko's bloc, Nina Yuzhanina, jurisdiction of this Bureau of Financial Investigation is offered in such a way as to jeopardize jurisdiction of Anti-Corruption Bureau and intervene into jurisdiction of Anti-Corruption Bureau. And this contradicts our international obligations. Basically, this draft law introduces a new crime of embezzlement of public funds. This new crime repeats already existing part of embezzlement performed by public officials, which should be investigated by National Anti-Corruption Bureau. If a new crime of embezzlement of public funds is introduced, this will mean that the same actions will at the same time fall under investigative jurisdiction of both Anti-Corruption Bureau and Bureau of Fiscal Investigations. And this undermines supreme investigative jurisdiction of NABU, which was our obligations before IMF, before the European Union, and which also was a conditionality for a visa-free regime.
Is this bill already submitted to the Parliament?
Yes, it has been registered just a few days ago.
Do you know any reaction of MPs towards it?
Well, right now, no, but this bill has already been criticized by public experts, not only for intervening into investigative jurisdiction of NABU, but also for broad powers which have the potential of creating an institution to pressure businesses.
Well, we will keep following this topic, but thank you so much for now for this interesting conversation.
Thank you.
That was Anastasia Krasnosilska, Advocacy Manager at Anti-Corruption Action Center. Thank you for watching Head to Head. I'm Alice Gerjuk. Goodbye.